My bad. I thought I had hit the go live button. I hit start streaming, and on YouTube that doesn't go live like like it does on Twitch. Which is good, but I forgot. So, sorry about that. All right. I think that's everything I need. So the video description is a little misleading, or it's a little wrong. It's not misleading, it's just straight up wrong. I forgot that when I ordered this, one of the things that caught me was I got it and I didn't have any of the diodes or the sockets or any of that stuff with it. And that confused me because I've never bought a keyboard kit that didn't come with all that stuff. Other than like, I know like, oh, someone is sending me a PCB. Right, but this was like I bought it from a shop. So, and what happened there is the shop, you have to buy the PCBs and the parts kits separately, which totally didn't notice that because they're just two options in the same drop down in the product page. So anyways, fortunately, I just bought 3,000 diodes. This is only 1,000 of them. I have parts from other keyboards for sockets. I think it came with the RGBs. If not, I've got a bunch of these already. I'll probably order some more. But it did come with like case parts, and I ordered a case for it, so at least I'm not completely screwing up everything today. But I didn't think about that until after I had listed everything and been like, oh hey, look, I'm gonna have a stream. So might be a little bit confusing. But yeah, this keyboard is a Kimiko, and I got it from Keycapsss I believe they're in Germany. And it is very much like a Lily 58, except it's got support for an encoder or two. I think you can only have one on each side, probably, but it's got two different options for encoder position. Let's get this out of here. So it's got two different options for encoder position. Has 5 thumb caps or thumb spots, which is nice, and optional 6th. I'm gonna put the encoders here because I think that's a good place for them. Has support for OLEDs. I don't think I'm gonna put OLEDs on this, but I'm gonna at least solder the jumpers. And it's basically like otherwise like a Lily 58, but more Kyria-esque pinky stagger. So you can see that pinky stagger is a little harder, and if we compare it to a Kyria, you can see the stagger is very similar. Actually, the Kyria might be even more aggressive, but yeah. So this is the Kyria, and this is the and it has a number row. The Kyria doesn't, because it doesn't need one. But I'm mostly building this because I thought it was cool looking, but also because my friend who I'm trying to get into mechanical keyboards, I'm trying to have as many options for her as possible. So it's like, okay, well, great. Well, this is a Kyria staggered Lily 58. So it's a little more aggressive stagger. She can try that. Otherwise, I throw it in the museum and it's all good. So. As far as switches, I don't know what I'm going to put in here. They're hot swap, so it doesn't really matter. And caps, I've got rando caps. I think this box was used last time, so yeah, there's not enough caps in here, but I do have another set of caps, and I have more caps on the way. Figure it out. So, with all that being said, oh, and one of the awesome things about this board is it has matrix RGB, and it doesn't look like it has underglow as well, but it does have per switch RGB, but it's using the 6812 mini-e's, which have little arms sticking out off of them, which makes them a million times easier to solder and stuff, and really, like, I pretty much won't build another board that has the regular 6812 minis because they're just such a pain in the ass. So yeah, I think that's it. I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. And as usual, I will start with the diodes, and then I'll move to the sockets, and then I'll put the RGBs in, because the RGBs, since they're so small and the sockets are like so much heat there, I want to put the RGBs in last, basically, just to play it safe. And in the past, when I've done this with RGBs, with these, I did it on this chalkboard, or this corn here, and I used solder paste, and that worked great. I'm going to try without, just to see, but I might switch to paste at some point, because paste makes it real easy. You just, like, put the paste on, put the diode in there, and heat it real fast, and it's done. But it makes a mess. I want to clean it up afterward. So I'm going to try without and see how that goes, and if I decide that I want to use paste, I will use paste, but otherwise I will not use paste. Bust out the trusty blue tape. Adam, are you talking about the LEDs or the board itself? Also, hello, welcome. Yeah, these LEDs are so much easier to solder. So much easier to solder. I think I didn't burn any of them out when I built my corn. Like, some of them didn't work right away, but that's kind of to be expected. But I didn't kill any of them, which is progress. Yeah, I also prefer no number row just because it's smaller, but my friend does a lot of statistics stuff and is also just new to the idea of a small keyboard. So I'm trying to ease her into it. So she's like, yeah, it'd be nice to have a number row. And I'm like, okay. Not a problem. One thing that's slightly frustrating about that is this is an MX board. And so this is an MX board, and it's also bigger than what the 40s server, I think, generally accepts as a 40s keyboard. So this board doesn't really have a good home on Discord, because it's not a low profile keyboard, and it's not a 40s keyboard. So I just kind of spam my Discord or my stream link and hope that nobody cares so much about this. All right. Let's try to get some stuff going here. Okay, soldering iron. So like last time, I am going to do the whole tin one of the pads real quick kind of thing, and then go back and put the actual diode on, because that worked really nicely. And also, like last time, I am going to use my extractor so I don't breathe in nasty. So if you look here, I don't know if you can really see, but you can see all this nasty stuff. I don't build that many keyboards. I mean, I build a few, but like, that's a lot of stuff that's not in my lungs. So this thing is like 35 bucks. Excellent purchase. Highly recommend. It saves my lungs. Plus, then it's something to put stickers on. Having more surfaces to put stickers on is always a good thing in my book. Whoop. Get this out of the way for a minute. Also, just a fair warning to everyone, I have a self-imposed hard stop at 3 p.m. Pacific because I'm going over to spend some time with my friend. So if I don't get done with this by then, which I'm guessing I'm not going to, just because the added complexity with the RGBs, I'll pick this up again maybe tomorrow after the thing. The extractor is actually not very quiet, but I have the noise cancellation on there. You probably can't hear my music either, and it's actually fairly loud to me. That's just how good the noise cancellation on this OBS setup is. Which is good, because then I can listen to whatever I want, and I don't have to worry about copyrights. But it's a little bad, because at some point I want to figure out how to have music on the stream, just so that y'all are listening to what I'm listening to. I don't know. All of them? Yeah, it is. I mean, I think part of it's because of the microphone, because it's a cardioid pattern or whatever. So it's trying to only pick up stuff that's like at level with it, and so the microphone is directly above the extractor. So like that's the extractor, that's the microphone. But yeah. It's also a little awkward because the setup, because my camera is right at eye level, and I want to like put my head down sometimes, and I'll hit the camera with my head, or I'll get down here, and then you see my hair and stuff. It's it's all good though. I do want to get a different camera, because I'd love to get one that where I can fix the focus so that it doesn't do this shit all the time. Especially because I just read a tweet from somebody earlier today that said that they get, that's like migraine inducing for them to have the focus shift all the time like that. So what I'll probably do is have a fixed focus camera that focuses on the thing, and then I'll have like a macro pad that I can switch to a different camera. That's probably this one, because I'll get a better camera than this one for normal shot. Be just like, so I can go like, oh, and take a look at this. I can get real close with it, and it'll be like lit differently and stuff, but it'll be kind of off to the side. But I got to figure out what camera I want to get, because I don't want to buy a ton of cameras. I want to buy one camera and buy the right camera. It's also entirely possible that I'll rent a camera for a while from like a camera shop, just to see if it's something I like. Oh, wow. Well, good thing I bought 1,000 of these diodes, because they are different size. I don't know if you can see that very well, but they are different size diodes. So this is the one that I've gotten with just about every kit that I've ever bought. And this is the one I have 1,000 of now. Fortunately, that 1,000 diodes cost me all of like $8, so I'm not out a lot if it doesn't work, but we'll see if it does. It looks like it fits on the pads, so whatever. It'll work in terms of electrically. That's not the problem. This could be interesting, though. All right. I might need to put a little more solder on each of these pads. Worst case scenario, I will dig out. I've got a bunch of other boards that I have in the queue. A lot of them have surface mount diodes. But the next step from this would be so in my 3,000 order, I bought 1,000 of these surface mount diodes, 1,000 of these glass surface mount diodes that Board Source likes to use, and then 1,000 of 1,000 regular through-hole diodes. So I've got plenty of diodes. Just means I might need to buy more. But they were not expensive at all. They're like 100 for 25 cents or something like that. Okay, that one's in place. Let's see if I can solder the other side and get it to stick. Just for grins. Well, I don't know if that's working. It's stuck on there pretty good. See, I just bumped my head on the camera. Yeah, we'll call it. call it good. Man, these are tiny though. Ooh. Whoops. Oh, come on. So I figured out the other day how to flip these over real easily. Because one of the problems I have with these is like you can't flip them over very easily, but you can just roll them with your finger. Duh. I felt pretty smart and dumb at the same time after I figured that out. Whoops. Okay. Yeah, these are a bit of a pain. But not terrible. Yeah, there's my hair. Yes, go get coffee. Coffee is a goodness. Damn it. You know what I'm just thinking now? What I would love to find is something that I can grip with and also apply downward force with, so I can make the component flat against the board in one push. Because one thing that keeps happening here, and this isn't isolated to this board, is the component is a little crooked, either, you know, tilted this way or tilted this way, and it's really hard to manipulate that with these little tweezers. And I imagine there's some sort of tool out there to do that with. I just don't know what it is. Eh. These are really hard to see. Okay. Yeah, they don't look terrible. Okay, now let's do the other side. Well, that one needs to get moved. Shit. Okay. That one, I'm betting, is not going to work. But we'll see. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, easy enough to fix. Just pop it off and put a different, or, pop it off and resolder it. Oh, I missed one. It's in a slightly awkward orientation. Or not awkward, just crooked compared to the rest of them. This is why you double check. All right. Let's go to the other half. Well, that one went gone. That one went somewhere. Y'all probably didn't see it because it's too small, but I picked up a diode, and as I was squeezing it to maneuver it around, it yeeted itself into orbit, and it's gone. But it's okay. I have about 950 of these things left. And what did I do with my diodes? There they are. Oh, come on. Hello, Keycaps. Hello, Ben. Oh, I missed one. You have no video and audio, or just no video? Oh, these diodes are tiny. Whoops. Whoops. Okay. So that's the one side of all those diodes. Let's do the other side. I'm going to get rid of that because it's driving me nuts. Yeah, that is a good habit. I should probably do that. It's definitely burned me before. Like when I did the Helix, I didn't realize that the RGBs went back and forth like this. So you actually had to rotate them 180 degrees. Yeah, that's one of the many problems with that Helix. Like not with the board, but with my build of it, which I just screwed up completely. I mean, it functions, but the RGBs are just completely screwed. I've given up on them. I've told my friend, like, yeah, if you like this board and want to keep it, I'll build you another one that works. And I'll put that one in the heap of shit I might fix someday if I get really bored. But otherwise, it is just gonna stay bad. And I bet you this one isn't gonna work either. One thing I also always forget to do is the firmware. I should probably, in advance of the stream, prep the firmware. but I never do. Okay, there's all the diodes. Perfect. Time for sockets. You might have. I mean, my second build was a Kyria, or third, I don't know. One build I did was a Kyria, and I ripped all 4 of the pads off of RGB1, so it's shot. Works fine as a keyboard, but RGBs, they'll probably never work. But it's in the pile of stuff I might fix one of these days. I also have like 100 extra corn plates, because if you buy a corn LP, like any part of it, they ship you plates for some reason. And I've bought like a case, and I bought some PCBs, and yeah. So I've got like tons of extra corn plates. So I'm probably going to do a hand wire build someday just for fun, because I think that would be really fun. And it's one of the few corns I don't have. I have a Chalk Mini corn, I have a corn, or a Chalk V2 corn, I have a Chalk corn, I have a MX corn, I have the Cornish Zen on the way, the Cornelius on the way. I have a second Chalk corn that I haven't built yet that's going to be this full shebang. It's got a case, RGBs, OLEDs, all that good stuff, so it's basically going to be identical to that, but the Chalk version. I only have one board that has an acrylic case and hot swap sockets, and that was the first board that I built, which is a Pinky 3, and I haven't had any problems. With Milmax sockets, yes, the acrylic plates suck, in my opinion. But with MX or with Kale sockets, they work fine. I would definitely suggest using PCB mount. Um, well, I guess it doesn't matter. I was gonna say I'd suggest using PCB mount just so that they stick even that much more, but that probably won't make a difference. This board is not acrylic plate though. I have FR4 plates. I got the diamond or triangle case or something like that. It's got a cool design. I like it. If it helps, I also have several chalk boards that I use completely plateless with Kale sockets. So those work just fine. Like multiple daily drivers. Yep. Just with the mil-max sockets as far as I've experienced. But my sample size is pretty small. I only have 2 boards of mil-max sockets, and both of them are in a bucket right now. And I only have 1 board with acrylic and MX, and Kale sockets, so. And I don't use it anymore. I haven't used it since July, maybe? But I did use it every day for a good couple of weeks, and it worked fine. They hold stronger, and they hold the flat part of the blade of the switch. So if you look at the bottom of a switch, let me grab one. You've got, well, this isn't a great example because it's bent all to hell. But if you look at the bottom of a switch, let me get it so I can actually see what I'm showing you. You can see that it's not a round peg, it's flat. The Kale sockets grip it from the sides. So if you look down inside of this, you can see that it's flat. Well, it's hard to see. You can kind of see that it's flat. And that lines up with the switch, the leg on the switch. So it holds it better because the other sockets are round and they have little teeth coming in like 6 places around the outside, but they're gripping a flat thing. So you only get a little bit of contact. And then also they stretch out a little bit. So if you pop the switches out and put in different ones, if you're using leg or switches with smaller legs, they've kind of stretched, and that can cause problems. They're just not ideal. Although, I will say that there's at least one vendor working with Milmax to make better sockets. He's going to be carrying... So this MK Ultra, as far as I know, is doing this. He's going to be stocking some new lower profile sockets. So the head, the flat part of the top of the socket is going to be a little shorter, so it'll sit lower to the board. Like that's kind of what he started with, but they seemed very like, we know people are using these for keyboards, but we don't know how to get into this. And he's like, hello, I can help you. And, you know, so hopefully we'll see some innovation on that front, because I think it would be nice to have better Milmax sockets so that you don't have to design your board specifically around MX or chalk Kale sockets. Which works fine, but like with the Lily 58 Pro, you've got both on the same board, but that means you don't have RGBs. That means you don't have yeah, the mostly means you don't have RGBs, but it limits you a lot because you have to have room on the board for both types of sockets. Yes, I am putting on the hot swap sockets on the first half now. I'm doing a once over on the sockets, not to see if they're soldered okay, because if they're on here, I'm fine with that. More that I actually soldered both sides, because there have been times where I've forgotten like one half of a column or something like that, and then the switches don't work, and I'm like, oh, well, I have to disassemble this now. Which is even, well, I was going to say it's even harder with a plate, but it's actually not difficult at all, or different with a plate. And now I'm doing a once over on the diodes, because I realized I didn't do that earlier. That one I don't think is going to work. That one maybe won't. Mostly at this point, though, I'm looking for orientation on the diodes to make sure they're correct. And so far, so good. That one's really hard to see. Still really hard to see. I think it's fine. Okay. Now let's do these sockets. Oh, I'm definitely not buying those super tiny ones. That was completely by accident. They're too small. They work, but they're just too small. And needlessly so. It's not like I don't gain anything by them, especially on this board, because the sockets are already taller than the diodes. Um, and they're just harder to work with. I mean, I'm going to use the ones I have. I'm not just like going to throw them away. Or I might. But yeah. I did not buy them intentionally for like, oh, this will be fine. It'll be better. It was, I bought 1,000 diodes and I bought the 1,000 of the wrong diode. Hello. So as I was saying at the beginning of the stream, and this would be the only real feedback I have for you so far, because like I said, I haven't even looked at the guide. But I would say make it very clear that you're buying just the PCBs. That you also have to buy the parts kit if you want the whole shebang. Because I didn't, and I didn't notice that until I got it like a week and a half later, because it was shipping from you to the US. And I was sad. And if I didn't have all this extra stuff, I probably wouldn't be building this right now. But I have extra parts from other builds that I either haven't done yet, or because I bought extra stuff. You know, I have 3,000 extra diodes because I bought some just to have. But it's kind of lucky that I had that stuff already. That's my only feedback so far. Otherwise, it's been, yeah, pretty straightforward build. I might also say that if you want this to be a little more beginner friendly, use a diode footprint that supports through hole as well, but I actually prefer surface mount. They're quicker because I don't have to bend the legs and do all that stuff, and I just like boop boop move on to the next one. Oh, okay. No, it doesn't have to be that precise. But there are two, so if you look at the whole, well, here, let me grab the other side. So if you look at the footprint here, you've got these two big holes, and then you've got the two pads on the outside. Those two big holes correspond to these nubs. Let me see if I can light it properly. These nubs on the socket. So you put the socket in there, and I'm just gonna grab the whole, just the socket by itself. I mean, you can turn the entire board with it and it doesn't move all that much. And since the legs are pretty flexible, and since the socket is by nature flexible, it doesn't have to be that precise. There is a problem that happens sometimes, and I've done this, where if you get it aligned just properly, the leg on the diode won't be lined up with the the leg on the switch won't be lined up with the socket properly, but it won't be so far out of alignment that it just folds over and flattens, but it just sticks, and then you'll push on it really hard and you'll pop the socket right off the other side. That one's fun. But that's pretty rare, although that is a common criticism. If you ask, what do you think about kale sockets? People will be like, oh, you can lift pads and stuff, and it's like, yeah, okay, you can. I mean, they are not as mechanically nice as with the board or with the actual PCB as, say, the Mil-Max sockets, but they're light years better in terms of with the switches. So, in my opinion, it's worth it. And I think they're a lot easier to install too, because I'm not taping these on. I don't have switches on here or anything. I put my soldering iron so the tip goes right between the two blades on there, and that opens it up a little bit such that when I put the solder in there, it flows through that onto the pad. I hold it down so that it doesn't move when I let off. And then I just wait until I see it solidify, and there you go. Now it's on there. It goes really quick. Whereas with Mil-Max sockets, I have to put switches, or I put them into the thing, and then I put a switch in there, and then I solder it, and I take the switch out, and it's a lot of extra work. And as far as like, oh, I might burn myself with this, I've only burned myself a few times doing this, and it's usually just a little tiny bit. And it's just like, oops, I'm a little close to the iron. I actually burn myself more feeding the solder in because I use very thin solder, so it takes a lot to fill up that joint. And I probably fill it way more than it needs to be, but it's fine. I'd rather have too much solder than not enough. And so sometimes what'll happen is I'll be like, oh, okay, I gotta get a little bit more, and then I accidentally touch the tip of the iron or something like that. But it's pretty rare. And not like severe burn. It's like, oops. It's like, that hurts a little bit. Oh yeah, sorry. I think it is on the product page, but it just I guess I wasn't thinking about it, and since it was a drop down versus it being like a separate product, it didn't occur to me to click on the drop down, and I just like clicked order. I don't know. Yeah, hey, more publicity. I'll take it. I just started doing this streaming stuff, and uh, now that I am unemployed, I'm probably going to be doing more video like content instead of just streams. So it'll be like, you know, more focused things on building keyboards versus just like sit here and watch me solder diodes for an hour and a half. But I figure if I'm going to work on a keyboard, I might as well stream it. So if there's a way that you can make it like a checkbox instead of part of the drop down, like also give me the kit, add $15 or however much the kit cost is. I think that would be ideal. Um, it when I said this, when I mentioned it to Tom, uh, he knew exactly who I was talking about. um, and apparently it's a German thing. I don't know. Um, so it's just a cultural expectations difference. Like I'm used to ordering a kit and it has all the parts that I need. Whereas in Germany, it's maybe more used to you order the two things separate, which is totally fine. It was unexpected to me. So it was frustrating, but it wasn't like rage inducing, I'm going to call my credit card company and no. It was just like, well, shit, I can't build this today because I don't have the parts. Okay. Adam, that is excellent feedback. I try to be very beginner friendly. Like I'm not here to like, look how fast I can solder diodes. If you were like, hey, what is that? I'll try to get close. I'll try to whatever, explain things. Some of the video stuff that I want to do is going to be more focused on like troubleshooting or, technique stuff. Um, yeah. So I'm glad that it's helpful. Mostly I just like building keyboards, and it's like, well, if I can do it on stream. Yeah, it's totally fine. It's just a difference in expectations. I don't mean to sound harsh or mean or anything. And if I am, I apologize. I'll also, instead of like a checkboard or a checkbox, maybe have two drop downs. One be PCB kit and the other one be parts kit, and you choose yes for both or something. I don't know. Just spitballing ideas. Because like I think Board Source does it that way. Because they have their whole like kit builder thing. Although I would say they go a little too far sometimes. It can be really frustrating ordering from them, but because I end up ordering, two things because it's not a, it's multiple choice, but it's inclusive. So it's like you can buy really easily three of the same kit or whatever. Because you click one, and you click the next one, and you click the next one, and you're buying all three of them suddenly. One thing I will definitely say is thank you for the very clear indications of direction on the PCB itself. Uh, Sometimes there's like this assumption that, oh well, it's the square pad is the where the line goes, or the like it's the longer thing where the corner, whatever. Like I don't even have to look at the build guide because I look here and there's a little notch on the corner here, right? There's a little indicator, and if you look at the LED, there's a little notch there. So it's very clear to me that's the orientation it should go in. I love it when it's very self-documenting, easy like that. It makes it way easier. And also, thank you for using the mini-e diodes or RGBs. instead of just the 6812 minis, because these are so much better. So much better. Okay. So I have not done these in a very long time, and I'm doing them differently than I did the last time. So what I think I'm going to do is do the old flux method. Hit it with a little bit of flux. Get a ball of solder. Drop it on. Okay, seemed to work on that one. All right, and I realized that I want to put flux on the pad first and then the LED down. But that's the right one, right? The angled leg on the pad with the little angle on it. You're scaring me now. Did I just solder that one on wrong? If only there was some sort of guide that would tell me those things. And sorry, that was me being sarcastic that I'm not looking at the guide. Just to be clear. Let me go take a look at the guide real quick. Oh yeah, I remember. I actually did look at this guide. Okay, yeah. The angle goes with the angle. That's what I figured. Okay. Yeah, this guide is fantastic, by the way. I love all the pictures. I love the, like, here's what your solder should look like. That stuff. There's the guide. What you don't have on here, oh, and I like that you show how to test the switch pads with tweezers. What I don't see on here is how to use con-through headers, which you sell with this, and I don't know if that's something you want to do or not. But I feel like I have screwed up con-through headers. I bought a shitload of them, and I don't know how to use them, so I haven't been using them. I spent like $150 on con-through headers. Okay, very cool. Yeah, because like someone who's done a bunch of keyboard builds just needs to know like orientation of the LEDs and stuff like that for the most part. Because otherwise, like I said, this is a fairly straightforward split keyboard build. You've got a controller, TRS jack, reset button, you know, you've got the OLED pads that are standard on reversible boards. You know, the biggest thing you have to worry about is diode orientation, which is very clearly labeled on the PCB, and RGB orientation, which I think is very clearly labeled on the PCB, but would go really nicely in a little mini thing. So, like in a little cheat sheet. I not usually, because I'm lazy. Um, and in this case, I probably won't, but I might bust out the. You know what? I'm gonna bust out the con through headers just to see. Might as well, because if I can get those figured out, then I can at least put those things to use. My problem is they just pop off really easily, and I feel like I'm missing something to make them at least not quite so. Because I want them to be quick release or you know hot swappable, but not such that it's like you touch the keyboard and the thing pops off. I was trying not to, but I just switched to using the lay down some solder on the pad. I am still using a little flux though to, so what I'm gonna do is I've tinned the pads, just one of the pads on each corner. And I'm gonna put the RGBs in. And then just to give it a little extra assistance, did I already solder that one? No. Okay. So give it a little extra assistance. Just hit it with a little bit of flux. And then some heat. Shit. Oh, and these are so much better still than the non-E ones. Okay. I don't solder to either. I was hoping to not have to do that. But I feel like there's one side that you solder and one side that you don't. And I think that's one reason I haven't done it yet, is because I want to make sure I get the right side. I think ideally I would solder the headers to the PCB though, because then I can swap the controller. Because then I can use the controller upside down or right side up, depending on which board I'm hooking it onto or whatever. Less relevant with Pro Micros, because I just treat those as effectively disposable. But like nice nanos, because they're $25 a piece. Yeah, I've got a squeeze flux too. My only complaint with this flux pen is there's way more flux than tip. And so that tip is going to wear out, and then the rest of the pen is going to be useless, and I don't know where to find more tips for it. It came with 2, and that's the second one. But it is very handy. It's also a thinner flux, because it has to be more liquid. So it's less messy than the gel, which is probably what you're talking about. There we go. Yeah, I've got, yeah, this stuff. Works great, but it is messy. And I use a little paintbrush with it. Works fine. Oh yeah, I use magnetic USB adapters anyways. Just because I'm constantly plugging keyboards in and stuff, and yeah. Excuse me. So this new medicine I'm on apparently can cause a dry cough, they say. And it's supposed to be a rare complication. But it seems like I am the 10%. I have an appointment with my doctor on Wednesday, and I'll discuss it with her then. I'm really hoping it's not COVID, though. And I've gotten both of my shots now, so I doubt it is. And it's also lasted way too long. And it coincided too closely with the start of it coincided too closely with me taking that new medicine. So pretty sure it's just the medicine, but it still sucks. Because like if I'm out somewhere and suddenly I start coughing, people are like, "Oh no!" And I'm like, "No, no, no, no! It's just the medicine I'm on." Okay, that worked okay. I think I still like these better with paste. Let me just try with paste. Oh yeah. So the problem I was having with paste, or the problem I'm having now, is that it's hard to get the solder to flow under the pad, or under the component leg, but the paste just sits. The paste is between the leg and the pad, so you just apply a little heat. But paste is messy, so it's like ugh. It's kind of a. It was an experiment, and then I decided it was too messy. But I haven't done these the traditional way yet, so I'm just going to compare with paste to see. Okay. I mean, it's so much easier to do with paste, but it's so messy. But I think I'm going to stick with paste. Because I say messy, like, it's not hard to clean off. You just spray it with ISO and hit it with I've got a vibrating toothbrush I use, but it's still just like one more step. And I accidentally ruined my paper towels, so I don't have any down here right now. They fell in my shop sink, which is also where my washing machine drains. So they got covered in nasty soapy water and all waterlogged and gross. Hey Siri, next song. No idea what the hell I'm listening to, but I don't like it. It's like the song you would hear at the grocery store. Very lowest common denominator, unoffensive, alternative rock. Now, see, I'd be fine with Taylor Swift covers, but this was just some generic, shitty music. I don't know. Haha! Okay, so I may have screwed up. I did. Okay, so similar to the Helix, these rotate 180 on every row, it looks like, and I wasn't paying attention. So that one is wrong. So now you get to see if I can desolder this without ruining everything. There. This is also where this flux pen comes in very handy, because I can do that, and then this. Just get it on there real good. Okay. This is where I gotta be really careful, because this is a really easy way to rip off the pads. And actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna change the tip. Yeah, flux is just basically your universal conduct heat. You need the heat to flow, and it also cleans the pads. Yep. No, I just it's totally normal because the chain goes like this, so it would make sense that we'd have to rotate the orientation. I just haste makes waste, and that probably wouldn't matter about the guide, even though I didn't look at it. Let me just look at what the guide says about the orientation to make sure it's adequately called out. Should heat up my iron again. Solder the LEDs, pay attention to the orientation. Yeah, if there's one thing I would say is add another line in there saying like pay attention to the where it says pay attention to the orientation, have it also explicitly say like pay attention to the orientation of the LEDs. They alternate each row. That's about all I would say different. But this is definitely user error. Like I was just not paying attention. So what I've done now is I switched to a wider tip. That way I can hopefully get both pads at the same time, which normally you wouldn't want to do because you don't want to accidentally bridge the pads. But in this case, I want to heat up the pads so that I can lift the whole LED out. And honestly, what I'm probably going to do is just cut the damn thing out. Okay, so that works. Haha, I got it without breaking it. Okay. Well, I'm going to pull it out anyways because I think I've ruined the LED at this point. They're cheap and I have plenty of them. And I don't really much care for the soldering iron tip. But it was handy for this case. Oh, come on. There we go. Okay. Now I get to see if I ruined the board. I may have lifted that pad, but I can't tell. I think it's fine. But we'll see in a second. Very hot. Do not touch. Watch is almost dead. And I just knocked my water on the floor. Oh well. There's a drain, it's a concrete floor, and I don't care. Okay. So I've only got about 20 minutes left before I have to leave. Hey Siri, set timer for 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Counting down. But I will get done what I can, and then I will... Maybe I'll just start this back up later tonight. Okay, nope, did not lift the pad. That is good. Industrial floors. It's my basement. It's not really industrial floors. Since there was so much messing about between when I put the solder paste on and when I soldered it, some of it got smushed, some of it got wiped off and stuff. So I'm just going back over and making sure everything looks pretty good. Yep, okay. But I will say solder paste is definitely the way to go for these. They're just so much easier. Okay, check the alignment. They're all that way. Okay. And I just realized I want to check these two as well. Just in case. These are all to the right. Hey Siri, next song. Sometimes these stations or playlists get really repetitive. And it's like, okay, I just mostly like having background music on, but when I can pick up the patterns and like I've heard the song 1,000 times now, I don't really need to hear it again. So those all face left. Okay, they're correct. So I know one side, if you push it down, it like locks into place. So these are the Mac 8 spring headers, or con-throughs as they're called. But I know one way, if you push them in, they like lock in place and stay there. Whereas that was really easy to pull out. And then I think what it is that's the one you leave on the hot swap side. Yeah, see, these are just super easy to pull out of here. Hello, Amaz Draven. Ames Draven. Sorry, I'm totally screwing up your name. Okay. I'm going to flash this with default firmware. Okay, I've got 5 minutes, so I'm going to do this real quick. Try, see if the lights come on. If they do, I'm going to call it good. If they don't, I'm still going to call it good, but yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm about to go hang out with my buddy who's who's dying of cancer. Literally. Okay, configurator. So I'm hoping the default firmware that I can grab from the configurator is good enough for this. What is this? The Kimiko. Sure. Compile. Yeah, I was talking with Mac 8's US distributor thing, US ARM, to see if, because they come in 20 pin lengths, which means if you cut 8 of those off to make a 12 pin for a thing, you're losing 8 pins worth of header, which is really wasteful, especially considering how expensive these things are. So I'm trying to get them to make them in 40s, because then per unit you can get 3 12-pin headers and only have 4 pieces of waste, whereas if you cut this into 3 headers you have 24 pieces of waste. Okay, download the firmware, throw it in the QMK toolbox. Little reset on the controller. Maybe. Okay. Flash. Well, it should be working, I think. Let me just make sure. Okay. Well, no lights. Whatever. I'm out of time. I will mess around with this more possibly tomorrow. Since there's so much left, I'll try to stream it. But yeah, I gotta go take care of my friend, see my friend, get as much time left with him as I can. And yeah. Meanwhile, I'm gonna call it here today. Made some good progress. I've just got LEDs for the other hand to do, and then soldering or installing the sockets and the things. Am I just missing something? Is this just not aligned correctly or something? I'm gonna try it one more time. Nope. Are they just disabled by default, maybe? Or maybe I need to reset the EEPROM. Whoops. Yeah, let's try that. Clear EEPROM. Reflash the firmware. Nope. Whatever. The day I do this and all the LEDs work on the first try is the day I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna quit while I'm ahead. Because that is just impossible. No, the controller's the correct way. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Yeah, the controller is supposed to go this way. Pretty standard that controller goes face down. I do have a board where the controller goes face up, but that's because I use the other column of holes because it's a nice nano board and I wanted the nice nano to sit flat on top of the battery to make it lower. But I would not do that with a Pro Micro because these are notorious for breaking off, which is one of the reasons why people tend to socket their controllers, because it's a lot easier to just pull the PCB out or the controller off and throw it away and get a new one than to desolder it all. Yep, they are in the correct columns. So yeah, I'll figure it out later. I mean, I know it must be correct enough because I was resetting it by shorting the reset pads on the PCB, which would only work if that was the correct pins here. So, but yeah, anyways, one thing I was going to do was short a switch to see if that actually output anything. In fact, let me just do that real quick. So short across. That pad, yeah, so it works because that's from the keyboard. So, must be something else. But we'll see. We will see later, though, because I've got to take off now. Thank you, everyone, for swinging by. Tomorrow, I have another stream where I'm going to build a bunch of macro pads. I have a 2% milk. I have a key mode control, which is infrared remote control that has mechanical keyboard switches on it. It just looked goofy and fun. And then I've got this UC1, I think, from, I don't remember who it was, but it looks like it's got a rotary encoder and 3 buttons, and you like stick it to the underside of, what I'm gonna do is stick it to the underside of my monitor so that I have a volume control and I can like lock the computer, global mute button if I can, some other things. Looks pretty cool. I've got 2 of those because I accidentally built 2 of them, or bought 2 of them. So I'm going to do that now that I have all of them. And then maybe if I finish up quickly with that, I'll work on this or save this for later this week. I now am unemployed, so I have tons of time to stream and make videos and do whatever. So there's going to be a lot more stuff coming out. So stay tuned. Thank you all for coming and hanging out, and see you later.